Welcome, my 19 subscribers, everyone on Wrestling Reddit, and everyone that's been recommended this video by the YouTube algorithm. And of course, welcome, you fucking marks. This is my review of AEW Dynamite for the June 1 show. Let's begin. So we opened the show with the first match, so that's CM Punk and FTR against Max Caster and the Ass Boys. And CM Punk makes his entrance and fucking gets a huge pop. This guy is so happy to be there. He fucking jumps on like a bunch of fans, one holding like a Chicago flag at like 2 o'clock from where he's standing. So my prediction of him being a heel is like completely out the window now. But who knows, in like 3 or 4 months. But for now, he is the mega babyface CM Punk. And then his fellow Bret Hart masturbationists make their entrance, and yeah, they get a loud pop. But this isn't as loud as what comes after next. So the Acclaimed and the Ass Boys enter the arena, and then they get a louder pop than the AEW World Champion, along with the Ring of Honor Tag Team Champions. Because these guys like are so fucking over. They got themselves over with backstage segments. They didn't even have matches on like the main shows. And then like for this whole match, the fans were behind them more. So Max Caster does his regular rap. It's about Amber Heard. He makes an LA reference that I don't get. And some Bret Hart shade. Because we do have some Bret Hart masturbationists in the ring. So yeah, so he does this. The Ass Boys take the mic after. They say the wrong city, so Sacramento and San Diego. And then Anthony Bowens takes the mic and he yells, "Los Angeles! The Acclaimed have arrived!" And then he scissors Daddy Ass. Okay, so the start of this match was the usual tag team shit, but they worked so fast. FTR are so smooth in the ring, and the Ass Boys are like not far off. There's a lot of working of the crowd, like getting them excited for a CM Punk tag-in. He gets tagged in the first time, but he doesn't really do much. He actually gets beaten up. But before he gets tagged in the second time, we get 5 straight minutes of Max Caster and the Ass Boys fucking cutting the ring in half and fucking kicking the shit out of Dax Hardwood. And this is like cutting the ring in half plus because fucking Billy Gunn and Anthony Bowens cheat. Even if they're like baby faces now. So yeah, I guess they're like tweeners or something, not sure. They are clearly baby faces, but I don't know anymore. But yeah, they cut the ring in half, and this is like, I haven't seen this for weeks on AEW. Also, I don't see this in like the Japanese promotions, so this is a welcomed return of the traditional cutting the ring in half. So after 5 straight minutes of Dax getting his ass kicked, he gets to tag in CM Punk. So the crowd pops, and then Punk goes for like a Brian Pillman springboard clothesline, but then he botches it, and he fucking almost breaks something there. God's lightning has struck CM Punk's lower body again. This time his feet. But then he recovers alright, and then he delivers some scoop slams. He assists an outside dive by Cash. And then he does a diving elbow drop on Austin Gunn. And then after this we have like another botch. He sort of struggles to get Austin Gunn up for like a powerbomb. It takes like a couple of seconds to get him in position. And then when he does the powerbomb, he does so like just a little far away from Billy's legs. And then he does a power bomb. It like scrapes him a little, and then Billy oversells this. By oversell, he actually sold normally if the power bomb landed better, but Billy should have just sold accordingly. He like fell off the ring as if he was knocked off, and this looked bad. But then we get the finish, which is a GTS, which doesn't take out Austin. He does like a loopy sort of walk into FTR's Shatter Machine or the Big Rig. And then Dax gets the pin for the win. This match was a great opening despite the botches. The crowd reacted well to both teams. There really wasn't much like spectacular shit going on in the ring, but it's alright. I mean, it's like an average TV match that belongs right where it should be. And so CM Punk cuts a promo, he flatters the crowd, he references drugs and says that he's never taken them and bets that this is how it feels to be on drugs. And then he covers his ass for his botches, says something inspirational, declares himself the champion, and then Dax here fucking makes this promo because he says he took the drugs that CM Punk didn't take, and then he does this sort of like crazy person laugh. I can't really replicate it, it's too hard. It kind of sounds like like that, yeah. And then he does the babyface thing, references his family, and then he takes a shot at the WWE. Like Fit Finley, who I think is a road agent or something. Dax apparently has beef with him and calls him to fight. But yeah, I could have done without mentioning the WWE because like they can go fuck themselves while they do their own thing. And yeah, so after this, CM Punk thankfully takes the mic and then mentions a better topic, a better promotion, New Japan Pro Wrestling. And then CM Punk calls out the person he's gonna face that's assigned to him by Tony Khan, and it's the ace, Hiroshi Tanahashi. Or like the ace a few years ago, because this guy is like gone down the card and is just like an upper mid carder now. And I kind of saw this coming because who else would you have like the champion of your company face who is high profile, is great in the ring, is still like capable of putting on like great matches, and can take a loss because that's the AEW World Champion. It has to be Tanahashi. But yeah, all of the fans that watched New Japan were excited. But that's like only a small part of the AEW audience. And this is made up of like smart fans, fucking casuals. Only a small part watched New Japan, and AEW could have done better in explaining who these people are. They could have played video packages or like anything. Tanahashi could have had a match, or he could have like had a real interaction with CM Punk aside from just like a stare down. There could have been story building here, but yeah, no. Apparently we're just gonna get like a fucking exhibition between the two companies, and that's kind of okay. But it would have been better if there were like storylines coming into this. But the problem is we only have like 3 weeks to build to the pay-per-view, so this is what we get. Okay, so right after this is the MJF promo, and holy shit. So, let's talk about the MJF promo. His pipe bomb. This is coming from a Mark who thinks his opinions are worth a damn, but they ain't worth shit. So let's begin. So I always thought this was a shoot because it didn't make sense with MJF's storyline with Wardlow. And I fully accepted that he was about to leave and that there was nothing Tony Khan can do about it, that things have gone bad. He's now like a poisonous part of your locker room who could like destroy morale all over the place. So now it's kind of confirmed, right, that MJF is signed because Tony gave him TV time to talk about this, to like basically shit on the company, to bury everyone. He even buried how AEW was founded. It was founded on the Elite, on their success in New Japan, and on Tony Khan's money. He even buried their most like biased journalist, and he buried their business partner, which is New Japan, who they have a show with at the end of the month. So I think it would be dumb to allow someone who's going to leave the company eventually, who's like a guaranteed signing for your rival, to say all of these things, because of course, right? We can agree that he's been signed or there's been a compromise, right? Because no sane promoter would allow his like generational talent who is wanted by like your rival to fucking bury your company, right? And when he gets there, he's gonna do this same thing, but do this with malice and It's not gonna be a controlled environment anymore. Tony Khan isn't dumb, right? He studied in a university, he owns like multiple sports teams, and he's mentored by his father. And this guy has the knowledge of wrestling past to avoid like mistakes done by previous companies who've tried this, who've suffered because of this like sort of program. And as for the content of his promo, and so as a promo, as a worked promo, holy shit, I was worked because these points triggered me. These triggered me. When he started bringing up Jim Cornette's points, I was about to lose it. But yeah, what an effective way to get the AEW loyalists triggered at like your promo. But there was two things that I agreed with what he said. So first is that there are too many WWE guys who are being paid too much that do jack shit or like at least less than what MJF is doing. And MJF is not well compensated. Because having these guys from another company that like you're challenging, you're at war with, and you're paying them like more than your original talent, especially your like generational future star, is kind of fucked up. It kind of says to the rest of the locker room that whatever you do, you will never be as valuable as this guy here who got famous from another company. So I agreed with him on that. And then I agreed on how like fans are wishy-washy on their opinions. Even me. Because this man brought up like I said a while ago, like criticisms from veterans or old heads about like the foundation of All Elite Wrestling, about the Elite, about Tony Khan, and about New Japan Pro Wrestling. And this man managed to sway them to his point of view. He managed to convince these loyalist AEW fans to hate AEW. That was incredible. And yeah, because of that, the fans are wishy-washy. Yeah, so this is a great promo by MJF, maybe one of the best to ever be cut. His words struck a chord with every wrestling fan out there who gives a shit about AEW. And it's probably gonna shoot up the ratings. It's probably gonna reach like 1 million for this episode or more. But there are problems with this. So first, like I said, you buried your business partner by calling their workers unsafe or just like playing for stars from Dave Meltzer. And this is such a dick move by AEW to New Japan. It's probably gonna alienate fucking fans from there. Or like Westerns fans who just watch New Japan. And oh yeah, Tanahashi's appearance a while ago was sort of minimized. Because when they cut MJF off, like kayfabe cut MJF off, like just like the pipe bomb back in the day, they just showed Tanahashi. Like they pretended that MJF's promo didn't happen and they just like flashed Tanahashi with MJF's words still fresh in the fans' minds and made him secondary because they would look for MJF instead of this guy that you're building to fight CM Punk. It's like they made their relationship with New Japan secondary instead of it being like a main thing because that's what we all wanted back in the day. And now we get it and it's just secondary and that's like annoying for like a New Japan fan and not one who pretends to watch it. Another one is he's exposing the business. The guy didn't even sell his injuries from the pay-per-view. He used terms that I hate such as shoot, work, mark, smart that a casual audience will not get and won't tune in the show for. This might backfire actually. We'll see when the ratings come out and when we'll see how this proceeds. And yeah, how this proceeds. AEW is running a risk in copying another WWE storyline because this happened twice already there. It happened with The Miz and it happened with CM Punk. It's not as like deep cutting or like as good as this, but it's still been done before. They have to do twists or like make like big changes to the story in order to like keep it original, to like keep it as distant from that as you can. And have it be called like just another WWE thing that AEW copied. And that's annoying as a fan. And again, like I said earlier, they're validating the criticisms of a bunch of old head, out of touch veterans who some have a point, but you're sort of detracting to what makes AEW special by agreeing essentially to these criticisms. And the last negative to this is that this is gonna force Tony Khan to be an on-screen character, and that's the biggest problem of all because the man can't perform for shit. He's always awkward at interviews. He comes out as like a creepy basement dwelling, something like that. The usual wrestling, like stereotype. But this guy's rich, and he's already declared that he doesn't want to be like an on-screen character. So he'll just be going back on that, and he'll probably be bad on screen, which is like, fuck. Unless he trains hard. He goes in a hyperbolic time chamber and then he trains fucking hard. So I hope AEW don't fuck this up, and I hope they don't fuck MJF up. This was an amazingly delivered promo with a bunch of problems. And this should have been on the main event because it was that good. But I just don't agree with some of his points. But yeah, to end the promo, he calls Tony Khan a fucking mark. And then, they cut off his mic. And he, leaves the arena apparently and then meets up with CM Punk. He, blows off CM Punk and then he continues out the door, out of the arena. But this here is from, fan videos because in the actual show, I was watching the fight broadcast and they just, flashed to a poster of the show for the whole time. And I assumed that was a commercial, but I don't know. I don't live in America and I'm watching the fight broadcast, which has, no commercials. And so when we come back to the commentators, they act like this didn't happen. They pretended like MJF actually went off the script, and this was awesome how they deal with it. So the commentators fucking referenced the segment before this, which was Tanahashi's debut or appearance, stare down with Punk, and they don't mention the MJF thing for the whole show. And apparently they fucking posted the video and then deleted it afterwards. They pretended like this was a shoot, and this is incredible. It feels like those games that fucking break the fourth wall, like Pony Island, Undertale, or Inscription. It felt kind of like that. So yeah, this was incredibly done by AEW. It's a very nice way to complement the fucking best promo ever cut, probably, maybe. I just don't agree with some of the contents. I think it's harmful to your company, especially if MJF doesn't resign. If MJF doesn't resign after you let him do this to you, you're fucking dumb. Tony Khan is a failure if this happens. AEW has always been the face promotion, and if you fucking throw the arguments brought about by its biggest critics, i.e. Cornette, Disco Inferno, or anyone else, it's gonna ruin the company. I swear to God, it's gonna make them look like a Bush League, amateur hour, mud show, whatever you want to call it, minor league, and it'll always be perceived as something more inferior if this doesn't work out. But if it does, I'm gonna take back everything I said about the contents. I'm just gonna call it as it is, the best promo ever, if this works out in the end. If it doesn't make you look stupid. So yeah. So I've talked about it enough. So I've added 2 to 3 minutes from the one I uploaded earlier. And yeah, this just goes to show how special this promo is. So yeah, so I'm gonna move on. So next is the Johnny Elite Open Challenge. So right after the MJF promo, they no-sell it. And then they pit two WWE guys against each other because Johnny Elite's first open challenge opponent is Miro. And Miro cuts this fucking Hollywood level acting promo. This guy has chops. And there's this one frame that looks like it belongs in Ikiru or an Ingmar Bergman film, some indie movies. And apparently he's flipped up his gimmick. He's now fighting against his god instead of for his god because of the injury and such. But yeah, this is a nice twist. I wonder if they'll play him like full babyface now, because in this match, we don't really see if he's a babyface or a heel, since Johnny Elite isn't both, because he made such a bad impression in the Samoa Joe match. But he sort of does better here, but he still doesn't get like a babyface reaction as compared to Miro. So yeah, so this match was fairly competitive. Johnny Elite got some offense off, but nothing like special. Like, he got more spectacular offense off against Joe here. He got mostly some kicks. But this was like mostly a return match for Miro. You could say that Johnny was more like Johnny Enhancement Talent here, but no, I mean, he did it fine. There's only one thing he botched, where it was supposed to be like the Moonlight dive again, but it wasn't supposed to hit. So like Miro was supposed to roll out of the way, but his leg like clipped Miro on the like abdomen. And as for Miro, it's more of a showcase for him. He does like an awesome Uranagi from a fall away slam position, and this is actually one of the two slams that he did. I can only remember two. It's just like a suplex and this. And then he finishes the match with the game over. He extends it back and gets Johnny Elite to tap out. So this match was like okay. It is the definition of a TV match. It's like one of the WWE matches that like they just throw out there. And coincidentally, it's like two WWE guys wrestling in it. It's positioned correctly, like where it's supposed to be. But it's more of a showcase for Miro, and even more of like sort of a point prover for the MJF promo a while ago, because they positioned this right after that, and this match like wasn't that good. The people's minds are still like on the MJF promo. So yeah, this was like alright. So after this, we get the JAS. Like, it's a segment. It starts off with like a video package recapping Anarchy in the Arena, showing highlights. And then JAS make their entrance. Chris Jericho cuts the music off early as a heel. And then they like sort of gloat, they celebrate, they trash talk. Cool Hand Ange is alright on the mic. He's like serviceable. But Daddy Magic Matt Menard, holy shit. This guy can not only cut a promo, but can like have like certain subtleties to his voice. Like in this one, it like fucking cracks. It's not even subtle. His voice like cracks multiple times, and his fucking accent, this like fucking comedic Canadian accent, just like takes over everything. Jake Hager doesn't talk, but I think this is like the best use of Jake Hager. Like, he's just there looking menacing, doing some trash talking that we don't hear, and have someone else do the talking for him. Daniel Garcia is like notably absent from this, but I think it's because of his match later. And yeah. And then we get the funniest part of this whole promo is when Chris Jericho references when Eddie Kingston poured the quote-unquote gasoline on him. And like the hypocrite heel that he is, says, "What kind of man tries to burn another man?" And this is coming from the wizard here, who has fire powers, who's been obsessed with like fire this entire time, like for weeks. But then Eddie Kingston shows up with William Regal, and Regal does like his blood and guts thing. It doesn't sound as good as War Games, but it's alright. It's like blood and guts. It goes like that. And then a goon on commentary, he doesn't even understand this when it's like clearly blood and guts. I think it's Tony Schiavone, and he just made William Regal look bad and like sort of like no-sold this whole thing because of his accent. But yeah, who gives a shit? If you ignore Tony Schiavone's comment here of like what? This was a really good delivery of like actually a hard to say phrase. It's hard to make blood and guts sound as menacing as fucking War Games. So yeah. And then Eddie Kingston, not as good as math as Scott Steiner is. That's why he's been outnumbered these past few weeks. He heads to the ring like alone and gets beaten up by the three henchmen of Chris Jericho, as Chris Jericho is just like looking over him from the ring. But it turns out he was just a diversion, and Ortiz, who has like a fucking sock with a ball in it or a sock with a soap in it, hits Chris Jericho in the face, and then cuts off more of Chris Jericho's hair. And this guy has been balding. Like, I've seen some bald spots at Anarchy in the Arena, and it kind of doesn't look good. So that's why I think he's going to be the one to lose the match that Ortiz challenges him to. Like, it's going to be at Road Rager, like 2 weeks from now. It's like a hair versus hair match. And yeah, Chris Jericho kind of needs a little shaving. But Ortiz would also look cool without hair. It'll be really funny if, like, every segment where JAS are in, even, like, backstage, Ortiz just, like, cuts a piece of his hair, like, every time. I hope they do this on Rampage, even if it's just, like, very short. Like, either on Rampage or on Dynamite, because we only have, like, 2 weeks left till the match. And yeah, I think it'll be really funny if, like, Ortiz just, like, cuts off a piece of Jericho's hair every time. Like, even on, like, stealth mode backstage, he hides in, like, a trash can or in a box and then fucking cuts Chris Jericho's hair. Or, like, even in normal situations where, like, JAS get attacked. Hell, why not do it in a restaurant, have Ortiz cut Jericho's hair there. Like, coming out from the shower, he attacks Jericho and then he cuts off his hair. That'll be comedy gold, but I don't think there's enough time. But we'll see what happens. So this segment ends with Chris Jericho finally accepting the Blood and Guts match, because I forgot to mention he didn't earlier. That's what made Eddie Kingston attack, like, forget the numbers game and, like, sacrifice himself for Ortiz to cut Chris Jericho's hair. But yeah, finally we get this. The condition is the hair versus hair match. So this could have been the best segment of the night, but it just had to go against the MJF one. Like, on any given night, this would have been, like, the funniest, this would have been the most entertaining segment of the show, but it just had to follow something better. So yeah. After this, we get a, like, short, pre-recorded backstage segment, post-Dynamite, allegedly, where Samoa Joe gets attacked by the trio of Satnam Singh, Jay Lethal, and Sanjay Dutt. And it's like, it just establishes that Joe's left shoulder is fucked up and will continue to play a factor in future matches. So this was like a nothing segment. I wish Joe was, like, actually in the building, since he's from SoCal and it would have gotten, like, a big pop from the crowd. So after this, we have a better match, thankfully. It's a 10-man tag team match between the Undisputed Elite with Hikuleo versus Jurassic Express, Darby Allin, Christian Cage, and Matt Hardy. Because Jeff is injured and he picked Darby Allin to be his replacement. A guy who has equally no regard for his own safety. So the match starts, like, in a simple way. We get some storytelling heat between Christian Cage and Matt Hardy, from their history, as well as the Hardys being in contention for the tag titles. And it's surprising how Christian still has it. He can still move around the ring, and it's kind of sad that they sidelined him back in the WWE. Like, they kept him off the ring, they had him do, like, the Edge and Christian show, but now, like, he still moves like one of the young dudes. I mean, like, not exactly, but he can keep up with them. Unlike the Hardys, where the Bucks had to carry them throughout the match until the end, like in Double or Nothing. And when Christian Cage is in the ring, when he's on, like, the top turnbuckle, I love how his team, like, has him covered. They're, like, watching his six, because Bobby Fish tries to cheat, and Christian Cage's team just doesn't, like, sit around and watch this happen. They, like, defend him as he's on top of the top turnbuckle. And then we get an awesome spot where Jungle Boy Hurricane Run as Bobby Fish to the outside, like, while Fish is on the apron. And then we get this stupid shot of, like, Adam Cole's face as Christian hits a diving headbutt. And we don't see this, like, we just see the end. Oh my god, the production team fucked up this time. Because, you know what? Christian is risking his life trying to do this move, which I think he actually should stop doing, because this is the sort of move that killed Chris Benoit and, like, somewhat put Bryan Danielson on the shelf. After this, the match breaks down. They start doing, like, outside dives. It's really cool. The Bucks do this one where, Like Matt Jackson does a hanging drop kick, and then Nick jumps out of the ring. He does a tope suicida between Matt's legs. It's like awesome. And then the heel team do this thing where they like in succession tag each other until Hikuleo is finally tagged in the match. This was funny right here. This is so heelish. Just like fucking around, tagging people in and out. For me, this showed the opposing team that they're not a threat. We can just play around here. We have all this chemistry, this cohesion that we can just like fuck around while we kick your ass. And then yeah, it's time for Hikuleo. And the commentators just like salivate all over his height. As well as Adam Cole, who puts over everyone in his faction. And yeah, Hikuleo doesn't do much in this first tag in. He immediately tags out. He just like does minimal things, but the commentators get to salivate on his height, so I guess that's alright. And then we have this disgusting fucking thing here where Nick Jackson like does his like hip thrusts. I guess that's the Young Bucks thing now. They like hip thrust all over the place. Nick Jackson does a hip thrust like facing Luchasaurus, and then he spits. He like tries to spit on Luchasaurus, but it sails on over his head and then goes to the fans on the front row. Jesus Christ, this was so fucking disgusting. So the match slows down as the Young Bucks cut the ring in half, but then Christian manages to like reverse DDT both the Bucks and tag in the big man, who's angry at Nick Jackson. So Luchasaurus annihilates everyone until Nick Jackson manages to slightly turn the tables for a bit. But then Luchasaurus, and of course Nick Jackson for this one, does one of the spots of the match. I think this is my number 3, where he like does what Ruby Soho does on the like bottom turnbuckle, but he does it on Nick Jackson on the ground. He like uses his legs to like drive Nick's head to the ground, and then Nick just does like a fucking 90-degree headstand. This was fucking awesome. It's actually followed by like a whole sequence where Jungle Boy Canadian destroyers Matt Jackson, and then Luchasaurus like choke slams Nick and then does like a standing moonsault. This is awesome. So fucking Luchasaurus, push this man. Give him like any title. So he goes for the pin, but Hikuleo breaks this up, and then he pulls Nick Jackson to the corner. He pulls the carcass of Nick Jackson to the corner and then tags him forcefully. And then for the first time in the match, we have Hikuleo and Luchasaurus like 1v1 in the ring. All the fans and then the commentators and the people at home fucking ejaculated when these big men came face to face in the ring. But then after like a short exchange, they like tag out. God damn it. And Darby Allin, like a house of fire, still fresh in this match, beats the shit out of Red Dragon. But then Hikuleo comes in to help and then like charges on Darby Allin, who's like on the opposite side, like near the ropes, on the side of the ramp, and then he uses Hikuleo's speed and then like pulls down the upper rope in order to like get him to like fall outside. And then fall outside he does. He like falls right on his fucking head. Jesus. That's a giant with all the weight of his body centralizing on his head. And it's not even like a controlled situation like what Nick Jackson did a while ago. This one, like, he actually fell. Jesus. But he gets right back up because he's a tough son of a bitch. Like his brothers, like his dad. But then Darby goes for a coffin drop because the damage he did wasn't enough. And then fucking Hikuleo catches Darby and offers him up to Red Dragon to be like double teamed. And this was like spot of the match. And then when they get back in the ring, some stuff happens, but the most important thing to happen was Matt Hardy like does his like head smash to the turnbuckle to like almost everyone but Hikuleo, because Hikuleo is a big dude. And then number 2 best spot of the match happens, where after the Bucks deliver like a super kick party to like most of his team, Jungle Boy dives off Luchasaurus and then gets super kicked. Shit. And after this, it's just pretty much the end of the match. Redragon do their like finisher to Matt Hardy, and then the Bucks hit the Meltzer driver on Jungle Boy. And then after this, like, Brandon Cutler sprays the Bucks with like the cool spray as they leave, and then we have some storytelling happen here in the ring. So Jungle Boy got pinned because he tried to do a kill switch and then he got pushed to Matt Hardy. So Christian, being the overprotective parent, blames Matt for the loss and like denies a hug between him and Jungle Boy, and he becomes like very controlling. So this is the route they'll go. They'll like have Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus like be annoyed with Christian, and maybe Christian causing them the titles. I think they're gonna drop it against like Kyle O'Reilly and Bobby Fish. Like it just makes sense, and then they drop it to the Hardys. But the Bucks did pin Jungle Boy, so maybe they drop it to the Bucks. I don't know, but it's gonna be awesome either way. And then we get a short backstage segment by Swerve where I don't know what he does. He flexes his powerful friends. He flexes his fashion, and he like compares them, so him and Keith Lee, to like tandems of LA. This didn't do much for me. They weren't really talking about any other team. This was more like just promotion of themselves and of the dudes around them. And yeah, I don't know any of these people. I don't live in that country. And I don't follow that scene. So yeah, this was a thing. And then we get the onstage promo by Athena. It's alright. It's the best promo I've seen her cut ever since she wasn't really allowed that much in the WWE. So yeah, she's much better here. It's simply about like challenging Jade Cargill, being the number one woman in the whole division. And yeah, like the usual challenger promo. And then Jade Cargill comes out, and she's a whole lot better on the mic this time. And she and her publicist, Stokely Hathaway, do this like combo promo thing where they use her catchphrase, and he calls her like a queen, a goddess, and a champion and such. And after this, Kiera Hogan faces off against Athena and sort of challenges her for Rampage. And that was pretty much it. We also get Anna Jay and Chris Statlander to like face off against the heels. But yeah, that was it. This was okay. It set up a match, and it did its job. It wasn't the worst segment of the show. That's like the Swerve segment is like worse than this. This like served more purpose and was actually pretty cool. And then after this, we have the Wardlow squash against JD Drake. Like nothing happens. The match isn't important. He just kicked JD Drake's ass and then delivers 2 power bombs, pins him, and wins the match. So after this, Tony Schiavone goes in the ring and tries to interview Wardlow, and we almost got like a promo. Like this would have been cool if like Wardlow cut a good promo after his big win against MJF, but no, he's interrupted by Mark Sterling, who he now has a feud with. Because the security guards that Wardlow has been destroying for the past few weeks, they press charges on Wardlow. And like Mark Sterling is very adamant about this. He sends one of them in to like hand the subpoena, to hand like the document. But then Wardlow just destroys him. He power bombs him. And we have some funny lines. Like Mark Sterling said that man had a family. And Wardlow said before this that this dude doesn't watch the product because Wardlow's now all elite. And you can't be doing any of this shit. But yeah, this is a nice fun feud that, you know what, is actually the smart way to like defeat Wardlow. Because if MJF just like drowned Wardlow in paperwork, he would like be gone for like a couple of weeks, and then MJF would have been prepared to like take him at like Double or Nothing. But no, he just had to take him in a match. What a fucking dumbass. So Wardlow's gonna be embroiled in this for the next few weeks. I'm interested in seeing how this plays out. If this becomes comedy gold, this would be a success. But if it ends the same way like these usually do, and it becomes corny, this would be like a big like cool down for Wardlow, because he should be in a bigger feud. But if like they make this funny, if they make this entertaining, this is like a plus, or just like coasting, which isn't bad. Fucking MJF is getting all the screen time, while the man who beat him is like stuck in this feud. But this has promise in it. Okay, so after this, we get a backstage interview with Lexi, and she's with Men of the Year, so Dan Lambert, Scorpio Sky and Ethan Page. You know what? I should be saying Scorpio Sky's name first, but who gives a shit? So they all cut good promos, like legit. Scorpio Sky's now really good. We all know Dan Lambert has always been good, and Ethan Page, I can see the potential. Like if you give him the freedom that you give MJF, he can be a good replacement. But yeah, and then Dante Martin shows up, and let me just like copy how he does it, because this sounds so unnatural. Like the way Dante Martin cuts promos sounds so unnatural. It sounds so bad, and like he says it like this: I appreciate the confidence in my potential, but I think that I am better than you right now. And on Rampage, I'm gonna prove it. It sounds so bad. He said it like that. Jesus, if he could have just like loosened up a little, this would have sounded better. But no, yeah, we get this, and hopefully he loses on Rampage. I'm just gonna do it again for fun. I appreciate the confidence in my potential, but I think I am better than you now. And on Rampage, I'm gonna prove it. Fuck, okay, next. I'm gonna move on from this. Next. Okay, so the next match is like a tag team match between Toni Storm and Ruby Soho versus Britt Baker and Jamie Hayter. And holy shit, this is the second time this match has happened within like a month? Yeah, within a month. Because this happened on the lowest rated Rampage, and it was actually pretty good. But they outdo that here. This one is actually better, but had like terrible heat from the crowd. This got a "this is awesome" chant, but yeah, like that didn't reflect what the crowd, how the crowd reacted for the rest of the match. I actually think the CM Punk FTR match should have been here or even later, because why not put the champion on the main event? CM Punk could also help out with like retaining fans throughout the show. And this is like a great match, and if the crowd was only hotter for this would have been like enough to draw ratings, I think. This should have opened the show, or maybe it came on second. So the start of the match is basically Ruby getting beat up by both Jamie Hayter and Britt Baker. They kick her ass until she gets the hot tag on Toni Storm, and then Toni Storm dominates the two, and then she tags Ruby, and Ruby finishes the match. But Jamie and Britt are more of a well-oiled machine. There's a lot of like heelish cooperative moves, like throwing Ruby to the apron, booting her, and then Britt takes the legs from under her. Ruby crashes on the apron, the hardest part of the ring, and then Britt does like a draped neck breaker to the floor. This was insane. They actually cut the ring in half really well here. Like Ruby had like no hope of getting to the other side, like making the tag. It's actually kind of dumb that Toni just sat there on the on like their corner, like, and didn't go inside the ring, because everyone does that, like even baby faces in like other tag team matches. But instead she just watches Ruby get destroyed. She even gets pulled from her corner by Jamie, and then Jamie does this like taunt to the crowd. There's a lot of like heelish like playing off with the crowd, which is nice. But yeah, my favorite sequence in the match was when Toni hit one of her like really hard hip attacks. Like these look like they can like cause concussions. And then she goes for the tornado DDT. Jamie rolls to the other side, like to the side of the ramp. And then Toni tries for like another tornado DDT, but this time Jamie catches her and then drapes her on the apron, and then does a drape DDT to the floor. But wait, there's more. Ruby does like a flying crossbody from the top turnbuckle to like Jamie on the floor, and then Britt from the opposite side sling blades Ruby and then throws Toni back in the ring. And then we get the subtle breakup moments when Britt sort of throws Jamie in the ring. And the way she does this is like throwing an opponent inside. She pulls her by the hair, grabs her by the like trunks, and then throws her inside. This was like subtle storytelling here. There was also a part when Jamie didn't want to tag in, and then they had an argument. So the finish of the match is after hitting like a spinning neck breaker on Ruby, Toni distracts Britt like from the apron, like while standing there, And then Britt goes for like a punch on Toni, but Jamie like pushes her off, and then Britt almost hits Jamie. And then because of this, because like Britt has to apologize, Ruby rolls her up, and then Britt kicks out, but Ruby hits a knee, and then hits the Blade Runner on Britt for the win. I think they won the last time too. So Britt and Jamie have 0 wins against Ruby and Toni. And yeah, this is just like building up to the future breakup between these two women. And I really hope that Jamie wins, because Britt has had enough winning. And yeah, this might be a nice way to catapult Jamie like higher on the division. So yeah, this is Ruby's first time to pin Britt ever. And I don't understand why they just didn't do it like on the tournament, because Ruby's a babyface. She might be like number 1 in ring and on the mic in like this entire women's roster. But the heels get their heat back. Jamie attacks Britt with the trophy title, the Owen Hart title, and then they stand tall at the end of this match. So after this, we go straight to the main event. So it's Jon Moxley versus Daniel Garcia. Okay, so this was the most impactful match of the night, with the spot of the night, which is Jon Moxley throwing Daniel Garcia from like a suplex position to the steel steps on the outside. And you know what? This would have been more impactful if Bryce counted the 10 count, because he just checked Daniel outside. It would have been better if he counted to 10 and like Daniel reached the ring at like 9 or 8, because they do this in Japan like all the time. But here, like in all of American wrestling, I think they've stopped doing that, and it needs to be brought back. Because this move is like crazy and fucking impactful enough to warrant something like that. And the story of the match was Daniel Garcia like working on Mox's cut on his head. So like he opened this up, and then he even did this like vampire thing that Chris Jericho like sells a lot. Who knows if like Daniel Garcia becomes a vampire, but he like tastes the blood and shit. And then like by the end of the match, Mox has like a crimson mask on. And I believe that for a main event, the selling here is a bit meh. There should have been like more times when they were both on the ground, because their offenses were just so devastating. I think they transitioned into the next move like too fast. There should have been more time to let the match breathe. Like Daniel Garcia should have done more selling here, because he's like the junior member of the JAS. And after being thrown to the steps as well as get super butterfly suplexed, he should have been on the floor more. Or he shouldn't have been able to counter Mox's moves like right away. He should have like ate some moves first. And in this one strike exchange, Mox knocks Garcia out, but he just like rolls out of the ring like immediately. He doesn't even like just stay put, which is my problem with this match. But if you ignore the selling, there was a lot of awesome shit in this match. Like the spot I mentioned where Garcia was thrown on the steps. And there's also this other one where Garcia has Mox on the rear naked choke. And to get out of this, Mox just runs with Garcia on his back, and then they crash onto the timekeeper's table, and the table doesn't even break. So like this was the second best spot of the match. And for the finish, Jericho leaves the commentary table and then tries to distract Moxley, but this is like so pointless, because even if this distraction happened, I mean, Moxley was like in control. He didn't even like give a shit about Jericho. He knees Garcia, and then he delivers a Death Rider, but he doesn't end the match yet. He wants to end it with the submission. He goes for the Bulldog choke, and then the match ends. And yeah, while this was happening, Eddie Kingston kicks Jericho's ass and joins Moxley in the ring, where Moxley cuts like a small promo, the usual Moxley promo, and then like he just announces himself for the Blood and Guts match. And that's how the show ends. So this was a great show that was made great by the MJF promo. Because honestly, if that wasn't even there, this would have been like just an above average Dynamite. But that MJF promo like really made it 10 out of 10. And made it a show worth showing in the LA Forum. And so yeah, that was the show. These are my match rankings. Number 1 is the 10-man tag. Number 2 is the women's tag team. Number 3 is the main event. Number 4 is the opener. Number 5 is the Miro return. And last place is the squash match. So yeah, now let's talk about the ratings. So for the ratings this week, Dynamite managed to score like 969,000 total viewers, and they got second place in the 18 to 49 demographic with .40. And that's just second to the NHL's .75. And you know what? I'm kind of disappointed with this rating because that MJF promo was like next level and considered like great by the wrestling fans. Everyone was predicting like 1 million viewers, but it was just short of that. You could use the excuse that AEW went up against the NHL, like the conference finals. I don't know what game. I don't watch hockey. But yeah, they went up against that and they still scored like below 1 million without like an NBA game for this day. But bright side, Dynamite did beat a lot of shows in like the female 18 to 49. So yeah, that's it for the ratings and that's it for this show. Thank you for watching. Like, comment, and subscribe for engagement. Share if you don't know me, and please hit that bell notification for future videos and watch my shit. Bye bye.